I found out she was secretly recording our arguments to prove her point to her friends. I didn't get mad. I just started responding to her in perfect legal jargon. The confusion on her face when she realized what her evidence actually proved. I, 28 male, discovered something about my girlfriend Veronica, 26, that changed everything. Not in a dramatic, explosive way. More like watching someone slowly realize they've been building their house on quicksand. We'd been together for 2.5 years, living together for 1. She worked in marketing for a cosmetics company. I was a paralegal at a mid-sized firm. Not the most exciting job, but I enjoyed the precision of legal language, the way words could be weapons or shields depending on how you wielded them. Veronica always said my job made me too literal and boring. She'd complain I couldn't just have normal conversations without overthinking everything. Classic criticism, right? Except she had this habit of starting arguments about the smallest things. The dishwasher, the thermostat, which streaming service to keep. And somehow I always ended up being the bad guy. 3 weeks ago, everything clicked into place. Veronica was in the shower and her phone kept buzzing on the nightstand. Not trying to snoop, but the notifications were lighting up the whole room. I glanced over and saw a WhatsApp group chat called V's Evidence Locker. Evidence Locker? My paralegal brain immediately perked up. When she got out, I casually mentioned her phone was going crazy. She grabbed it, smiled, and said her friend group was super active today. But that name stuck with me. Evidence Locker. What kind of friend group calls their chat that? 2 days later, I got my answer. Veronica left for her weekly wine night with the girls. She was running late and forgot her tablet on the couch. It was still logged into her WhatsApp web. I know I shouldn't have looked, but that chat name had been eating at me. One peek. Just to settle my paranoia. What I found was illuminating. The chat was exactly what it sounded like. Veronica had been secretly recording our arguments for months. Audio files labeled with dates and offense. October 3rd, he's gaslighting about the dishes again. October 17th, mansplaining the Netflix password. November 2nd, classic manipulation about my spending. Each recording followed by commentary from her friends. OMG, what a narcissist. Girl, he's so toxic. This is emotional abuse, babe. My ex did the same thing. Red flags everywhere. I listened to one recording. Just one. It was from last week. An argument about her buying a $400 purse when we'd agreed to save for vacation. But listening to it, she'd edited it. Cut out the part where she'd agreed to the budget. Cut out where she'd hidden the purchase for 2 weeks. Only kept my frustrated reaction when I found the credit card statement. I sat there for probably an hour, scrolling through months of recordings. Every single one edited, cherry-picked, crafted to make me look like a controlling monster. The friend group eating it up, feeding her narrative, telling her she deserved better. The thing is, I wasn't even mad. I was fascinated. She'd built this entire victim narrative, complete with evidence, and her friends were her jury. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd never dated someone who understood evidence law. I closed the tablet, put it exactly where I found it, and started planning. The next morning, Veronica started her usual morning routine, complaining about something trivial to spark an argument. This time, it was about me forgetting to buy her specific oat milk brand. I specifically said unsweetened vanilla, not regular vanilla, she snapped, phone mysteriously propped against the coffee maker. Time to test my theory. I acknowledge your frustration, I responded calmly. However, I must respectfully note that no prior verbal or written communication specified the subcategory of vanilla flavoring. The standard interpretation of vanilla oat milk, absent additional qualifiers, would reasonably include sweetened variants. She blinked. What? Furthermore, I continued, maintaining perfect composure, I reference our established precedent from September 14th, wherein you stated, and I quote, "Any vanilla oat milk is fine." This creates an estoppel situation, preventing you from now claiming specificity was required. Why are you talking like that? I'm simply clarifying the factual record for accuracy. She stared at me, clearly trying to figure out if this was worth recording. But how could she send her friends a recording of me speaking like a law textbook? They'd think she was the weird one for dating someone who responded to oat milk complaints with legal precedent. This continued for a week. Every attempt at starting an argument met with perfectly structured legal responses. No emotion, no frustration, just clean, clinical language that made her complaints sound petty. You never want to go out anymore. Objection. Assumes facts not in evidence. I have proposed 3 social outings in the past 10 days, all declined by opposing party. You always take your mom's side. I must contest the characterization of always. In the matter of the Thanksgiving 2023 scheduling conflict, I advocated for your position despite maternal objection. The recordings stopped. I could tell because she stopped propping her phone up during conversations. Her evidence locker. Friends were probably wondering why the content dried up. But I wasn't done. Phase 2 began last week. See, Veronica had gotten comfortable with me being the villain in her story. What happens when the villain starts keeping receipts? I started a journal. Not a diary, a contemporaneous record of events. Legal standard. Times, dates, direct quotes, context included. All handwritten, harder to claim fabrication. Monday, November 13th, 7:23 a.m. V initiated argument regarding breakfast choices. Claimed I never consider her dietary needs. Note, purchased her requested gluten-free bread yesterday. Receipt attached. Tuesday, November 14th, 6:45 p.m. V accused me of financial control when asked about $200 ATM withdrawal. When provided opportunity to explain, stated it was none of my business. Note, shared rent payment due tomorrow. The beautiful thing about accurate documentation, it tells a different story than edited recordings. Yesterday, it all came to a head. Veronica had been getting increasingly frustrated with my new communication style. She couldn't get the reactions she needed for her recordings. Her friends were apparently asking if everything was okay because she'd gone silent in the chat. So she escalated. We need to talk, she said, phone prominently displayed. About your behavior lately. Certainly, please specify which behaviors you'd like to address, preferably with concrete examples, including dates and times. This weird way you're talking, it's creepy and manipulative. Interesting characterization. For the record, I'm employing precise language to ensure clear communication and prevent misunderstandings. Would you prefer I return to my previous communication style? Yes. The style you've been documenting without my consent and sharing with third parties after selective editing? The color drained from her face. Gotcha. I don't know what you're talking about. Reference, WhatsApp group chat titled V's Evidence Locker, created June 2023. Approximately 47 audio recordings shared to date, all edited to remove context and your instigating behaviors. You went through my phone? Negative. You left your tablet logged in on shared furniture. The notifications were visible without any deliberate access attempts. She grabbed her phone, probably to record this confession. But what was she going to share? A recording of me calmly stating facts while she scrambled? You had no right. Actually, I interrupted, pulling out my journal. Let's discuss rights. One-party consent laws in our state allow recording of conversations you're part of. However, defamation laws still apply to false statements made to third parties. Your edited recordings, presented as complete conversations, could constitute defamation per se, as they falsely accuse me of emotional abuse. Are you threatening me? I'm informing you of legal realities. Additionally, I've maintained contemporaneous records of our actual interactions, including your patterns of instigation, financial deception, and emotional manipulation. That's not. You can't. I can, and I have. Now I suggest we discuss this like adults. Would you prefer to continue recording, or shall we have an actual conversation? She turned off her phone. First honest conversation we'd had in months. Update 1. The fallout from my revelation was instructive. After I confronted Veronica about the recordings, she went silent for about 2 hours. I gave her space, figured she needed time to process. What I didn't expect was her nuclear response. That evening, she came out of the bedroom with her suitcase. I'm going to stay with Brittany for a few days, she announced. I need to think. Understandable. Will you be taking your belongings, or is this temporary? She glared at me. Stop talking like that. Apologies. Do you want to take your stuff, or are you coming back? I don't know yet. She left, and immediately the group chat apparently exploded. How do I know? Because one of her friends, Megan, actually reached out to me. Now, Megan was different from the others. She'd always been polite at gatherings, never joined in the bash the boyfriend sessions I now knew were happening. She sent me a text. "Hey, just wanted you to know, V is sharing some pretty intense stuff in the group. You might want to protect yourself." I thanked her and asked if she could be more specific. The screenshots she sent were, wow. Veronica had told the group I was psychologically torturing her with legal manipulation, that I'd been documenting her every move to build a case against her. The narrative was that I was an abusive controller who used my legal knowledge to gaslight her. But here's where Veronica made a critical error. She shared one of her recordings to prove her point. An unedited one, in her panic. It was from 2 months ago, an argument about her canceling our anniversary dinner to go clubbing with friends. In her edited version, she'd only included me saying, "You always do this. You never prioritize us." But the full recording? It started with her saying, "I don't care if you already made reservations. The girls want to celebrate Tiffany's promotion. You're so clingy, expecting me to choose you over my friends. It's just another day." Followed by 10 minutes of me trying to calmly explain why anniversaries matter, her mocking my boring romantic crap, and then my frustrated response. Megan said the group went quiet after that. Someone asked why this recording was so different from the others. Veronica claimed it was the only time she'd edited anything. Then Megan, absolute legend, asked to hear the raw files of other recordings. Veronica lost it, started accusing Megan of taking his side and betraying the sisterhood, removed her from the chat. The damage was done. 2 other friends reached out privately to Megan with questions. The doubt was planted. Meanwhile, I was dealing with my own situation. See, when Veronica said she was staying with Brittany for a few days, I took that at face value. But after a week, I needed clarity. I texted her, "Hi Veronica, it's been 7 days. I need to know your intentions regarding our living situation, as rent is due soon and decisions need to be made." Her response was pure entitlement. "I'll come back when I'm ready. Don't pressure me." To clarify, are you maintaining your position as a tenant of this apartment? Obviously, my name is on the lease. Acknowledged. Rent is due in 5 days. Your half is $950. You seriously expect me to pay rent when you forced me out? Correction. You voluntarily left after I discovered you'd been secretly recording and defaming me. No force was involved. Your tenancy obligations remain. This is financial abuse. I didn't respond. Instead, I did something else. I contacted our landlord, explained the situation, minus the drama, just that my co-tenant had voluntarily vacated but wanted to maintain tenancy, and asked about my options. He was surprisingly helpful. Told me that if she didn't pay rent, I could pay the full amount and sue her for her portion. Also mentioned that if she'd abandoned the property for 30 days without payment, it could be considered lease abandonment. Good to know. Day 10 of her being gone, things escalated. Veronica showed up with Brittany and 2 guys I didn't recognize. At 11 p.m., demanding entry to collect her things. I opened the door but kept the chain on. "Good evening, I'm happy to arrange a time for you to collect belongings. However, it's late and I wasn't given notice of this visit." "It's my apartment too," she screeched. "Correct. However, you've established temporary residence elsewhere. Courtesy dictates reasonable notice for property access when not in active residence." One of the guys stepped forward. "Just let her get her stuff, man." "I'm happy to accommodate that request during reasonable hours with proper notice. Shall we schedule for tomorrow at 2 p.m.? "We're here now," Brittany chimed in. "Yes, I can see that. However, I'm within my rights to request reasonable notice for entry, especially given the late hour and multiple unknown individuals present." Veronica was recording again. I could see her phone in her hand. Good. Let her record me being reasonable while she brought 2 random men to my door at 11 p.m. "Additionally," I continued, "for everyone's protection, I'll need to document any items removed from the premises. Standard procedure when a co-tenant collects belongings after establishing alternate residence." "Are you serious right now?" Veronica spat. "Quite serious. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. You may bring 1 person to assist. I'll have an itemized list ready for signature. Have a good evening." I closed the door. They pounded for another 5 minutes before leaving. The next day, she didn't show. Instead, I got a text. "My dad will be coming for my things. Don't try your weird legal crap with him. Her dad was actually reasonable. Showed up alone, was polite, helped pack her stuff efficiently. As he was leaving, he paused. She told me you've been abusive. But you seem pretty level-headed to me. I appreciate that, Mr. Caldwell. I've documented everything if you'd ever like to see the full picture. He nodded slowly. She's always been dramatic. Her mom's the same way. Good luck, son. That evening, I got an email from Veronica, subject formal notice. She was demanding I pay her back for her portion of furniture, electronics, and household items we'd purchased together. Claimed since I was forcing her out, I should buy out her half of everything. The entitlement was staggering. She voluntarily left, refused to pay rent, and now wanted me to pay her? I responded with my own formal notice. Attached every receipt showing I'd paid for 80% of our shared items, included screenshots of her texts admitting she left voluntarily. Cited state law on abandoned property and tenant responsibilities. Then I added one more thing. Please note, should you choose to pursue legal action, I will be compelled to submit to evidence all documented instances of your behavior, including but not limited to the 47 edited recordings you shared with intent to defame, your admission of financial deception, and patterns of emotional manipulation. I suggest we handle this matter quietly and move forward separately. Radio silence for 24 hours. Then, a text from Megan. She's melting down in the group, says you're blackmailing her, but honestly, most of us are done with her drama. Thanks for the wake-up call. Good. The truth has a way of surfacing, doesn't it? Final update. So this is how it ends. Not with a bang, but with a whimper and a whole lot of paperwork. After my formal notice email, Veronica went dark for about a week. No texts, no surprise visits, nothing. Even her social media went quiet. I figured she was planning something, so I just continued documenting everything and living my life. Then I got a letter. An actual physical letter from a law firm. My stomach dropped for about 2 seconds before I read it. It wasn't a lawsuit, it was a settlement proposal. Apparently, Veronica had convinced her parents to pay for a lawyer consultation. That lawyer, after reviewing her evidence, aka the recordings, had some hard truths for her. Turns out, secretly recording someone for the purpose of mockery and defamation isn't exactly legal gold, especially when you've edited said recordings to remove context. The letter essentially proposed, she drops any claims to shared property, I drop any potential defamation claims. We go our separate ways. Clean break. But here's where it gets interesting. Attached to the proposal was a note from her lawyer that I don't think Veronica knew was included. My client has been advised of the significant legal risks of pursuing action given the circumstances. I strongly recommend accepting this mutual release. Translation. Your client is screwed, and we both know it. I took the settlement to my firm's family law attorney for review. Perks of working at a law firm. She laughed. Actually laughed. She recorded herself committing defamation repeatedly and shared it with witnesses, then tried to shake you down for money? Take the deal before she realizes how badly she's exposed herself. I signed. Send it back. Done. But Veronica wasn't quite done embarrassing herself. 2 days after the settlement was finalized, she posted on social media a long, dramatic post about surviving narcissistic abuse and finding her voice. No names, but obvious to anyone who knew us. The comments were not what she expected. Megan, bless her, commented, "Brave of you to speak up. Quick question though, weren't you the one recording him without consent and editing the files?" Brittany tried to defend, "Megan, victims do what they need to survive." Another friend, Carla, who'd been quiet until now, "Actually, I've been thinking about those recordings. Why were they all edited? And why did you kick Megan out when she asked for originals?" The post devolved into arguments. Veronica deleted it within hours. But the real karma came from an unexpected source, her job. Remember how she worked in marketing? Well, turns out her company has a pretty strict social media policy. And someone, not me, I genuinely don't know who, sent screenshots of her evidence locker chat to HR, including the parts where she'd been recording and sharing conversations that happened in our apartment while she was supposed to be working from home. She didn't get fired, but she did get demoted from senior marketing associate to junior coordinator with a matching pay cut. Suddenly that apartment she couldn't afford half of, really couldn't afford now. Last I heard through the grapevine, she moved back in with her parents. The evidence locker group chat disbanded after massive infighting. Megan and 2 others completely cut her off. Her dad told someone at their country club that his daughter needed to grow up. She's dating some new guy who apparently thinks her recording habit is toxic. Growth? As for me, life is peaceful, beautifully, wonderfully peaceful. I kept the apartment, got a normal roommate who pays rent and doesn't document our conversations. Started dating a fellow paralegal who finds my legal speak endearing rather than annoying. We actually use it as foreplay, kidding. Mostly. My firm promoted me to senior paralegal after my handling of a complex evidence review. Turns out, dealing with Veronica's manipulation tactics made me really good at spotting doctored documents and inconsistent narratives. The best part? I still have my journal. Every entry, every receipt, every documentation of her lies. I don't need it anymore. But there's something satisfying about having a physical record of the truth, especially when someone tried so hard to rewrite reality. Veronica wanted to build a case against me. She wanted evidence of what a terrible person I was. She wanted her friends to validate her victim narrative. Instead, she created 47 pieces of evidence of her own manipulation, defamation, and abuse. She documented her own downfall, edited it badly, and distributed it to witnesses. In legal terms, we call that hoisted by your own petard. In regular terms, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I don't check her social media anymore. Don't care what she's doing. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And I'm beautifully, legally, formally indifferent. Thanks for following along with this weird journey. Remember, if someone in your life needs to secretly record you to prove you're bad, they're probably the problem. And if you're going to document everything, maybe don't admit to editing the evidence. Court dismissed.